Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
We can now say the decision taken to leave the EU.
On the 23rd of June, the people of this country voted to leave the European Union, and they voted for change. They did so by a clear majority. But there were many people who also voted for Remain. So it's absolutely vital that we work together, Leavers and Remainers, as we seize the opportunities that this country now has to forge a positive and exciting new relationship, not just with the European Union, but also with the rest of the world, changing Britain and making it global again.
Boris Johnson there. Welcome, ladies, to the programme today. Gisela Stuart, why is Boris Johnson, as Foreign Secretary, spearheading a Vote Leave pressure group?
It's not a pressure group for Vote Leave. What it is an acknowledgement that this was a hard-fought referendum. And whilst the decision was clear, nevertheless 48% voted to remain. But the decision has been made, and it is quite a, I think, difficult task to make sure how we negotiate, how we get the best deal for the United Kingdom.
Do you trust Theresa May to do it?
I do, because she has not done anything so far which will give me any reason not to trust it.
Although she's not really done anything, I suppose some people might argue.
But she set the structures. But the thing is, we now need to bring Leavers and Remainers together and say, how do we work in the best interest of the country? And that's going to be our challenge.
But is it appropriate for Boris Johnson as Foreign Secretary to be part of it?
Well, Boris is our patron. I mean, he's championing us. I'm chairing it. The two key patrons are Robert Salisbury and Maurice Glassman. So you have the political spectrum, and you have got amongst the supporters Leavers and Remainers.
Right, Leavers and Remainers. I'd like to know who the Remainers are. Are you going to reach out to someone like Heidi Allen? Would you join,
absolutely.
Heidi?
No, I wouldn't. Nothing personal.
I mean, you were a Remainer. Why not?
Because I think, and I understand, it's so emotive on both sides, but we've got to give the Prime Minister a chance. I really do. That's her job. And with the greatest respect, and, this is a great thing about democracy. We've learnt that. Everybody's entitled to form their own groups and opinions. But I really do think it's time for the Prime Minister. She set up the departments. She was out and about through the summer meeting European leaders. She is getting on with it. And for me, I don't feel we need that group yet, I suppose.
Right, because you don't think, or it looks as if the group doesn't trust the government to do what they've said they'll do.
I don't know if it's about trust. I think my sense is, and Gisela will know this better than I, my sense is it's about just keeping the pressure on so that it never relents and that Brexit is what we achieve. But I don't believe for a minute that Theresa will go back on that. I think she's very determined. So again, for me, if you feel that you need to do it, then fine. But for me, I feel it's a little too early to put that pressure on.
So which Remainers have you got on board?
Well, I mean, key one was Nick Bowles amongst the MPs. And
that's one.
Yeah, but, we literally just started this. And I think, the other thing which I think is important, I'm probably one of the last people who have done negotiations across Whitehall with 27 European states when we were working on the European Constitution. And what I learned at that stage was that even when you've got a clear political direction, you do need a platform where you can thrash out ideas. And government, you always expect them to come out with the perfectly formed policies. And currently they're saying, we're working on this behind the scenes. We're saying we can help you to work on those policies in the public.
Do you really think that's realistically going to happen, particularly when leaders of the Vote Leave campaign, yourself obviously included, have been asked to apologise for promising there would be £350 million of extra money for the NHS, and you've been asked to apologise by Labour colleagues, Ian Austin, Emma Reynolds and Pat McFadden. Will you apologise for that?
Well, to which I say that unless and until we've actually leave the European Union, there's nothing of this we can do. And we said that's the money we spend on the NHS, on Brussels, we should fund the NHS. And I said, if it were my priority, I would spend it on the NHS.
Right. Is it in your manifesto in this group?
Well, this is why this isn't a kind of pressure group or manifesto.
You have got a manifesto, though, for it, haven't you?
We have the key principles of what we thought the people were looking for when they voted to leave, which were these breaks of links between people and trade, links of supremacy of EU law, you take control of your taxes and your borders.
The NHS pledge was at the heart of your message, wasn't it? It's a bit surprising it's not there.
No, the NHS was the example of that if you're spending that amount of money and you haven't got control on what to do with it, I would spend it on the NHS. It was about taking control of your spending decisions.
Do you think Gisela is right to the extent that the campaign is over? and there were many arguments about pledges and claims that were made by both sides, whether it was the punishment budget or money being pledged to the NHS. Do you think we need to move on from that?
I do. I think the campaign is over and people have come away very, very wounded on both sides. You know, people have been tarred with a horrid brush on the Leave side that's not, you know, it's not deserved. I suppose my word of caution on this whole project or lobby group, whatever we're calling it, is those wounds I don't feel have healed yet. And this feels like whipping it up again before the Prime Minister's had chance to harmonise the country, which, and I think she's very, very capable of doing that, and I'd be wary for that reason.
Right, so you actually think it's going to fuel division rather than bring people together, which is what Beasley is trying to do?
Potentially that would be my worry. I think the Prime Minister is the figurehead, the leader of the country, very calming, very measured. She is the one to take us through this and bring those, you know, wounds and those two sides back together again. And I just worry that this might whip it up.
And I think you make a very fair point. What I would add to that is that, of course, we've had large sections of what Labour core voters who voted to leave, and they need their say and their representation. So you're right to put that challenge to us, that we have to make sure we focus on that healing process, because it has to be a national decision. It was a national decision to leave, and now the implementation must represent the interests of the whole country.
All right, you'll come back and tell us how it's going in terms of recruiting Remainers.
I've been